So, Jack Grealish has joined Manchester City in a deal which is said to be worth £100 million. That fee is enough to make Grealish the sixth most expensive footballer of all time, leapfrogging Ousmane Dembele, as well as the most expensive English player of all time, overtaking Harry Maguire, and the most expensive signing in the history of the British game, ahead of Paul Pogba's £89 million return to Manchester United. For what it's worth, I don't think Jack Grealish has done anything wrong in this instance. He has been at Villa since the age of 6, he didn't sulk after being denied moves in the past, most notably to Spurs when he was a much younger man. He played a pivotal role in getting Villa back into the Premier League, a pivotal role in keeping them in the Premier League, and finally a pivotal role in establishing them there during his finest campaign last season. As a boyhood Villa fan in a team that has made some excellent recruitment decisions and is clearly heading in the right direction, I could understand if Grealish had chosen to stick around. By the same token, he is 25 years old, and for all of their fine work, it's highly unlikely that Villa will challenge for either the Premier League title or the Champions League over the next few years, which Manchester City aim to do every single season. So, I can also understand his decision to leave. What's more, I don't really think that you can get too angry with Manchester City specifically for signing Grealish. They are a top team signing a top player from a lesser team for a large fee. This is a tale as old as time now and as common as footballers with the surname Dembele. Yes, it is frustrating. Yes, it means that the upper echelons of English football operate effectively as a closed shop, and yes, I have made several videos rallying against just this in the past, but it isn't exclusive to Manchester City. This is far from the first time it has happened, and it certainly won't be the last. If Calvin Phillips or Declan Rice are the best midfielders in the Premier League next season, they will almost certainly leave Leeds United or West Ham. This is the way in which modern football works. And if you're frustrated with it, it's the current system that you should rally against, not one specific instance of it performing exactly as it is designed to perform. Anyhow, with my Grealish-related rant out of the way, in today's video, I thought I would utilise the lucrative fee Manchester City have forked out on the England international to my own advantage, and turn it into a fun video idea. So, I decided to try and formulate the strongest possible Premier League 11 with a maximum budget of £100 million, the same fee that Man City have paid for Grealish alone. It's a bit like Fantasy Premier League, where you also have a £100 million budget, but Kevin De Bruyne doesn't cost £12 million in my game. I won't be including any free transfers or academy graduates, since that would make things far too easy, and I could just pick the likes of Alexander-Arnold, Mount, Kane, Rashford, etc., and then fill in the gaps with whoever I wanted. No, I wanted to set myself a challenge, so every player has to have transferred for a fee. Without further ado, here is my sensational, unbeatable, bargain bonanza Premier League 11 that costs less than Jack Grealish. Goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel. Those of you who are especially forward-thinking and talented in terms of arithmetic may have figured out that in picking an 11 that costs less than £100 million, the average price per player will have to be around £9 million or less. Immediately freeing up funds for elsewhere on the pitch is, quite frankly, one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Signed by Leicester City for the same £1.5 million fee that he had been signed for by Notts County 2 years earlier, with the season a Leeds United sandwich between the two, Kasper Schmeichel's career progression has been really impressive to watch, and the hard work he clearly puts into improving his game has paid dividends. About to enter his 11th season at the King Power Stadium, Schmeichel has made 426 appearances for the club. He has proved to be a wonderful signing, and age 34, I think he's probably close to the peak of his powers right now. Right back, Tariq Lamptey. I've gone for a very affordable option once again at right back, and it's a player who subscribers will know that I'm a big fan of. I remember watching some England youth game a few years ago when I'd never even heard of Tariq Lamptey, in which he picked up the ball on the right flank, jinked past about 4 defenders, and rifled the ball into the roof of the net with his weak foot. It would be fair to say that I've kept an eye on him ever since, and he hasn't disappointed. Dumped by Chelsea due to the presence of fellow youngster Reece James, Brighton were able to sign Lamptey in January 2020 for just £3 million. I think that was an inspired signing, and Brighton could most likely sell him for 10 times that amount now, just 18 months on from his arrival. Centre-back. Kurt Zouma. From a former Blue to a current one, albeit one who is being linked with the move away from the club at the moment, Kurt Zouma is a really solid centre-back. The most expensive player in our 11 thus far, Zouma joined Chelsea from Saint Etienne in January 2014 for a fee of £12 million. Though he was only 19 at the time, Zouma actually established himself pretty quickly at Stamford Bridge, something few young players actually managed to do. In his first full season with the Blues, Zouma made 32 appearances, but the following season, aged only 21, Zouma fell awkwardly and ruptured the cruciate ligaments in his right knee, ruling him out for 6 months. That set Zouma's development back severely, but he bounced back on loan at Stoke and Everton, and he has made almost 80 appearances for Chelsea over the past 2 seasons. Zouma is currently being linked with a move to West Ham, with Chelsea said to be looking for £24 million for the Frenchman. And personally, I don't think he's at all bad value, even at that price. Centre-back. James Tarkowski. Every season Burnley stay in the Premier League, despite scoring about 4 goals. So, I think it's about time that we started to put some respect on their tremendous backline. In Nick Pope, James Tarkowski and Ben Mee, the Clarets have 2 really solid centre-backs and one of the best goalkeepers in the league. Actually, that is a point. You could make one hell of a case for starting Nick Pope, even ahead of Kasper Schmeichel, I reckon. Oh well, too late for that now, and I don't think there's all that much in it. Burnley are represented in this 11 though, as James Tarkowski partners Kurt Zouma at the heart of our backline. Signed by Burnley from Premier League new boys Brentford for around £3.6 million in 2016, Tarkowski won promotion to the top flight at Turf Moor, and he has been a rock-solid centre-back in the Premier League ever since. Left-back. Andy Robertson. Actually one of the more expensive inclusions in this 11, despite still being a terrific bargain, Andy Robertson cost Liverpool £8 million up front, plus a potential £4 million in future add-ons when he arrived from Hull City in 2017. I have it on good authority that those add-ons have since been triggered, unsurprisingly, given the amount of games Robertson has played and Liverpool's success, so he eats up £12 million of our budget. For that price, we get arguably the best left-back in the Premier League, and, for the last 3 years, one of the best in the world. A tireless runner, Robertson has a phenomenal work rate and desire, as well as being one of the most creative fullbacks in the entire world. Defensive midfield. Tomas Souček. I sang Tomas Souček's praises on this channel before he signed for West Ham, and thought that he would be a wonderful addition to the Hammers squad. But even I didn't expect him to have anything like the kind of impact that he has done since arriving at the London Stadium. A 6'4" man mountain, Souček forms a brick wall alongside Declan Rice in front of West Ham's back line. He is efficient on the ball and he chips in with plenty of goals. What's not to like? And all that for only £15 million. There have been midfielders signed for £50 million who have done less, so I think Tomas Souček is good value for a spot in this 11. Defensive midfield. Wilfred Ndidi. The most expensive, or at least the joint most expensive signing in this entire 11, Wilfred Ndidi, set Leicester City back a reported £17 million when he arrived at the club from Genk in 2017. That may be expensive by the standards of this 11, but it is an absolute snip in relation to current market valuations, his talent, age, and what the Foxes could get for him now. Ndidi is almost like the perfect modern-day defensive midfielder. He's quick, fairly tall, he has fantastic stamina, he reads the game brilliantly well, he knows his limitations, and he frees up Leicester's more creative players to do what they do best. Ndidi is about to begin his 5th full season in Leicestershire, and if he hadn't got injured last season, I suspect that they would be playing Champions League football this season. Right wing. Rafinha. I've gone for a pretty old school 4-4-2 for a change with this 11, albeit with 2 very deep midfielders and a couple of fairly advanced wide players. The first of those 2 is none other than Rafinha, Leeds United's main man during the second half of last season. It's funny, isn't it, because English pundits love to harp on about the quality of the Premier League and how difficult it is to adjust to life in the league, and how players from supposedly lesser leagues find it very difficult. I'm not denying that, all round, the Premier League does of course have greater quality within it than Ligue 1, but plenty of players have come from France's top flight to England and just fine or even better. Rafinha is one of them, and he has done even better than fine in truth. More impressive for Leeds under Marcelo Bielsa than he ever was for Rennes, or Sporting Club de Portugal for that matter, the 24-year-old Brazilian set Leeds back just £17 million, putting him level with Wilfred Ndidi as the most expensive player in our team. Despite that large fee by the standards of this 11, given his talent, age and debut campaign at Ellen Road, Rafinha looks to have been one of the signings of last summer, and some fairly unreliable reports that I've read claim that Leeds now value the wide man at £35 million. Left wing, Wilfried Zaha. The second Wilfred in this 11, though it is worth noting they are not spelt the same, Wilfried Zaha has at times been valued by Crystal Palace at close to the amount that Aston Villa demanded for Jack Grealish. Unfortunately for Zaha, who has pushed for a move away from Selhurst Park on more than one occasion, no one has been willing to stump up the £70 to £80 million that Palace are after. And now aged 28, it seems unlikely that a club will come in with an offer anywhere near that amount. Imaginary transfers that never happened matter little in the context of this video though, which Zaha is an outstanding candidate for, having returned to Crystal Palace in the winter 2015 transfer window for just £3.5 million. That is considerably less than the £10 million plus that the Eagles sold Zaha for to Manchester United in the first place, and one could make a compelling argument in favour of Zaha being the best piece of business that Crystal Palace have ever done. Quick, inventive, and capable of producing something out of nothing, given that he takes up just £3.5 million of my budget, it was pretty difficult not to include Zaha in my 11. Centre forward, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. An absolute peach of an inclusion, there weren't many centre forwards who looked more impressive or scored more goals than Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the Premier League last season. Yet, he cost Everton just £1.5 million. Signed by the Toffees from Sheffield United when Calvert-Lewin was still a teenager and was yet to score his first senior goal for the Blades, it took him a bit of time to really get going at Goodison Park. Regular game time, hard work on the training ground, and that confidence that only goals can bring have all combined to create an excellent centre forward now though, and the 24-year-old is now arguably Everton's star man. He scored 21 goals in just 39 games for Everton last season, in addition to scoring 4 goals from 11 caps for England, winning the Premier League Player of the Month award for September 2020 and the Player of the Season award at Everton. Once again, for £1.5 million, it was hard to say no. Centre forward, Jamie Vardy. It's an all Sheffield-born strike partnership up top, featuring 2 boyhood Sheffield club fans and former Sheffield club academy players. Whilst Dominic Calvert-Lewin graduated from the Sheffield United Academy, earning himself a professional contract at the club and going on to represent them 12 times before being sold for £1.5 million, Vardy never got any of those opportunities with the Blades' bitter rivals. He was released by Sheffield Wednesday before signing professional forms at the age of 16 in a move that the Owls must surely still regret to this day. Vardy didn't give up on his dream of becoming a professional footballer, but it must have seemed pretty far off whilst he was earning just £30 a week and working part-time at a factory whilst contracted to Stockbridge Park Steels. He kept his head down and kept scoring goals though, earning moves to Halifax Town, Fleetwood Town, and finally, the biggie, a move to Leicester City. The Foxes were in the Championship at the time, and Vardy set them back £1 million up front, with a further £700,000 in potential future add-ons. I chalked him down as using up £1.7 million worth of my budget since I'd find it pretty hard to believe that all of those add-ons haven't been triggered at this point. A lot of people felt that that was a crazy price tag for a non-league player at the time, but Vardy has since helped fire Leicester into the Premier League, to a Premier League title, and whilst the likes of Mahrez, Kante and Maguire all departed, he has stuck around, consistently proving to be one of the most consistent and prolific centre-forwards in the entire division. Now, that 11 comes just £90.2 million by my estimation, which means I did actually have another £9.8 million to play around with. However, every time I tried to make an improvement, I felt it wasn't actually all that much of an improvement. I could have picked Ilkay Gundogan in central midfield ahead of either Tomas Souček or Wilfred Ndidi, but given the lack of defensive cover provided by our 2 wide players, I wanted 2 true sitters, even if Gundogan is more gifted than the pair of them. I almost started Joe Gomez at centre-back, but I went for James Tarkowski, narrowly ahead of him. One alternative would be to play Gundogan or even Thiago Alcantara instead of Rafinha and go to something like this, with a 4-2-1-1-2 type formation, a little lacking in width, but perhaps even more solid. I've no doubt you will have plenty of disagreements though, and I don't doubt that I may well have missed some obvious improvement somewhere within my 11. This was quite difficult, but I thought I gave it a decent attempt. So, go ahead and let me know how you'd improve my 11 in the comments, or just, completely rip it up and start again. Hit the like button if you did enjoy today's video. I believe there is also the opportunity now to do a super thanks comment, though I'm not quite sure how that works or what it means. But, make sure that you're subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on Twitter or on Instagram by the username at HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.